moving around. We were baking and shaking today. And so we figured we go on the stream at 10:10. I got my cup of Joe. I'm my head coach, Dave Campo. Coach, you ready to go?
Oh, yeah. Yep, I'm ready to go. Listen, getting close now. I can smell the season down the road.
Yeah. We got rookie mini camp coming up this weekend. And so it's going to be the coach's first opportunity to look at this rookie class. That includes the undrafted guys along with the draft class, which I'm sure that you can chime in on this a little bit later on as far as what you're looking for immediately. But let's at least start with the guys that we think can make an impact before we ever hear from the coaches and what they see on the football field. We're going to look at the undrafted rookies a little bit later on in the week with our Friday stream. But today, primarily, how many of these guys can be impact players, can be breakout guys? That's any number of possibilities, correct, Coach? But how many do you feel like right now might be able to step in and immediately lend some help?
Well, I think the first four, for sure. I think Hunter is going to obviously be a factor. I look at him as a first round and a second round pick because he's going to play on both sides of the ball. Yeah. And again, there'll be a role for him. He won't play every snap. He needs to, have some time on the bench. He's got to have some time for adjustments on either side of the ball. So, I can see, he will definitely be a factor in my opinion. I think he needs to gain strength, as we've talked about before. I think that's what they're working on right now, size-wise, but the guy's a heck of a player. Then you look at Milam. I believe, and again, we won't know till we get these guys on the field because, all I'm looking at is highlight tapes and, those kind of things. I think he's a starter at left guard. So you're looking at him in that mode. It'll be a competition with Ezra Cleveland, who, by the way, is not a bad player. He's just, has some weaknesses that I think Milam fixes. I think Milam's a little stouter, a little stronger. I think he'll, put some, a little more of an anchor, plus the fact that he has tackle ability moving into guard. So, I think some of his weaknesses out of tackle is his setting ability, quickness, all that. It won't show down there, but he's got a great punch and a great power situation with him. So I feel like he's going to be stronger than Cleveland is, but he has the ability to pull and do some things that they like to get on the perimeter with the tackles and pulling the tackles around on some of the power plays. So I like him. Then you look at Ransaw. Ransaw is going to be an interesting one. I really feel like watching him. He has, and we've talked about this before, he's got box safety ability playing nickel with great speed, which allows him to be a cover guy, and with his playing corner, he's got some corner skills. You put those together, and you've got the combination of a box safety and a cover safety, which to me puts you in that cover three mold if he's a strong safety, and the ability to play quarter coverage, which is a cover safety. And you add to that the ability to maybe play nickel, but I think Lewis has got the nickel locked down. So I think his move to safety would be a no-brainer in my opinion.
All right, so
then you look at Tootin, Bayshore Tootin. Yeah. The guy is got some of the qualities that Genty has. Close to the ground, great acceleration. He's got big playability, home run ability. That puts him in a position to where he'll compete with the guys we've got. So those four guys, I really think are going to be guys that figure in for sure in what's going on this year.
All right, so let's spend a minute on each because there's no question right now when you think about what James Gladstone, the scouting department, the front office, and then, of course, the coaching staff, they all came together. They said, these are our needs. These are our wants. This is our wish list. and they feel like they really got some decent possibilities, especially the Caleb Ransall discussion. And I want to start there. We'll work our way back to Milam and, of course, the running back, Bashal. But when you talk about the guy that can help you with that box safety position, which means you're going to be more physical, you're going to be on the attack, he's a sure tackler, he's big, he's fast, he's all that stuff. So a box safety would be a huge improvement based on what this team had a year ago. Because honestly, Coach, if you're trying to identify who was that box safety last year, Antonio Johnson's supposed to be that guy. Darnell Savage maybe is or was supposed to be that guy. You start looking around, there aren't a whole lot of other guys that do that and have that speed to be able to do what you just described, which is either go cover 3 or quarters. So spend a minute on, because that sounds to me like if it pays off, that is a tremendous amount of versatility and physical presence at that safety spot.
Well, I think that's what they love about the guy. I mean, the guy has played, basically nickel. He's played box. He's played corner. The guy's got versatility. The one thing that he has that lends itself is he's a good tackler, but he's also got the explosiveness that he can come from depth to make tackles. And that's where the quarter safety comes in. That guy is a combination cover guy, but he's also a supporter on the run. And sometimes you look at the safety and say, well, they're 4'5", 4'6", guys that can do some things. They're good tacklers, all these things. But this guy's a 4'3" guy. Yeah. So all of a sudden now you got a guy that can run with guys down the field, but is also explosive enough to attack the line of scrimmage. And I think, I've said this, you've heard me say this before. He reminds me of Darren Woodson, the kid we had in Dallas who's in the Ring of Honor, should be in the Hall of Fame. He was a nickel player and a quarter safety guy. And you add to that the fact that I believe Ransall has really good football IQ. So you put all those things together, I'm hopeful that he can be a guy that can make the move. The one thing you don't know about him, Joe, is he a ball hawk down the field? And that was the same concerns with Woodson, because Woodson had never really been back at that safety position, to see if, he's a guy that can go get the football and all that. We'll find that out. Mm-hmm. But I'll tell you right now, with what we've had at safety, I think he fits right in, and I think he gives us a chance there.
Yeah, because the eval of him, the excitement level in the building of what they got, the right out of the box saying this guy's going to step in at safety, there's a lot of optimism. And I'm all about optimism, especially in the offseason. But I will be watching just to see if an Xavier Watts or somebody else at the true safety spot would have been a better pick, would have been or was available still on the board. But I love what you're saying, because everything that you talk about, the combination of everything that he can do, and having played multiple positions, let's just remind everybody, he did not play safety in college, but all those other versatile traits that he's got, that makes him fall under the heading of intangibly rich. So go out there and ball, bro, and see if you can do something. Lock something down, because you know how important that safety spot is. There were too many big plays that were given up last year on the back end.
Yeah, and I think the only weakness that I see from the guy at all, I've heard this, I really haven't seen it that much because, again, we're watching highlight tapes when we watch the guy, is the fact that he's had some trouble at corner with turning and finding the football down the field. So that's why I say there's a little bit of concern there. I know they can't run by him, so he's going to be close to where the football is, in my opinion. And I think that's what's important. I think when you find a guy like that, the one thing about Woodson, and again, believe me, I'm not saying he's Woodson, because Woodson's already proven what he's done. Right. But I'm talking about the traits that he has. Woodson, came out and ran a 4.38 40 at 250 13, 14 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
This kid runs 4.33. So I like what I see from him. We'll find out. That's the great thing about it.
All right, so let's go back to the running back that we just mentioned and another guy that you feel like can do some things immediately for this football team. And basically what we're looking at is impact moments, impact plays, not necessarily taking over a starting spot. We may end up seeing Caleb Ransaw as a starter, as a safety, but Bashal Tutin is not going to take over Travis Etienne and Tank Bigsby, not from the jump, but he does have an opportunity to be a impact guy. He's nearly 210 pounds, nearly 6 feet. He runs that 4.32 40, just like Ransaw. Ransaw was 4.33. He's 4.32. The other numbers, the 1.49 second 10-yard split, coach, I think is really a good indicator of that sudden speed, that burst, getting out of the backfield, first cut guy, and then taking off. So I do agree he can be an impact guy.
Well, remember this. He's their guy. Those other two guys are not their guy. So they look at this guy as a guy that fits what they want to do. And that's the ability to be a home run hitter. He's got, obviously burst and speed. If he has a weakness, in my opinion, it's that he runs into too many people. He has the ability to elude guys, but he's a guy that breaks tackles and does what Genty does. He's not just a one-trick pony now where he runs into somebody and that's it. He breaks tackles. He's improving his vision. The other concern is he has been a fumbler in the past. He's put the ball on the ground. He can't do that. That's something that I think you've seen from Etienne, that Etienne was able to correct that. And that's what he'll have to correct right from the very beginning. But his ability to take the ball, accelerate, and hit the home run on you makes him a definite contributor. And remember, he's their guy. He's been picked by this squad to be the running back that they think can help them go forward. And he can catch the ball out of the back.
I agree with you. Yeah, and you can't put a label on a guy and say this guy reminds you of this guy, therefore he's going to become that guy. I don't want to do that with Bashal Tutin, but Bucky Irving was able to come in and immediately work his way up the running back depth chart and ultimately supplant Rachaad White and basically take over as the guy coming out of the backfield. And he didn't carry all the load, but he took on a major portion of the load. And it goes back to Liam Cohen finding something in that offense that Bucky Irvin was really good at. Rachaad White was good too. He's another guy that when he came in, he took over for somebody else. So that's the type of guy you could have here. Well,
he's not the big physical guy that's going to carry the ball 30, 40 times in a game. He's a role guy as well. I mean, from the standpoint that they're going to use backs. They're going to use them for different situations. We talked earlier about the guy, LeQuint from Syracuse, the other running back. Yeah. He may be a third down back. Who knows? But they're going to use this kid. I promise you, this guy is going to play some this year, and he's going to be a factor just because of who he is and what he can do.
Yeah, you got to like the opportunity with draftable players that they are going to come in and compete, and we're going to see where it goes. And they're not closing the book on Travis Etienne, at least not right now. There's all the chatter about whether they could move him. That certainly is still a possibility, Coach. But don't think for a moment, just because they drafted a dude or drafted two running backs in LeKent Allen and Bashal Tutin, that they're going to run Tank and Etienne out of town. They ain't going to do that. And you can picture a 4 running back room where 3 guys are going to be active on game day, and they're all going to have a chance to make plays. Isn't that how the league works right now? You need multiple guys that can come in and make plays for you out of the backfield.
Yeah, you got to remember now, this is a physical league. And so, the running backs, their life expectancy is not, the same as other positions because of the amount of pounding they take. And, this is a physical league. So you really need a number of backs that can do things for you. And a lot of times it's, one back has certain skills. For example, Bigsby, he may be the guy when it's third down, 1, 2, 3, he's going to be the guy that gets the football. He's a physical guy. He does this and that. ETN is more of an outside runner. Maybe that's what he is. I think this guy is a combination, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. So, that I think is what you're looking at as you go forward with him. I really believe he's going to be a factor this year, and we'll have playing time for sure.
We're going to be heading up to the ACC spring meetings next week, and we hope to talk to his head coach, Virginia Tech, Brent Pry, and get an idea of what he thinks of him. Robert on our chat is saying, I think Tootin could make some plays, get in front of some people, and take it to the house. And that's the speed that this team is looking for. And I'll just give you a quick comparison, Coach. Like you said, he's not a tank build where he's going to run between the tackles. But Tank Bigsby ran a 4.56 at the combine, ran a 4.45 at Auburn's pro day. Okay, that's not anywhere near where we're seeing the numbers for Bashal. So if he can take advantage of that speed and still work with some size and the ability to hang on to the football, but he's 209, at least that's where he was coming in, he can get to 215, something in that neighborhood, and be a productive back that can be cat quick, not necessarily all the time between the tackles. I remember throwing the stat out, and we'll probably do it again as we go along in this offseason. They never, hardly ever went outside, and maybe the speed can help that.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, to be honest with you, when you look at it, what they did through this entire draft at every position was they looked for speed. They looked for speed and physicalness, and this kid has both.
So let's go to the other guy that you mentioned, Wyatt Mayan, another guy that you think can have an immediate impact on this team. And I agree with you. If you were to name the guys that you think, okay, put money on the one that you think will earn a starting job day one of the guys we just mentioned, Travis Hunter, you're going to have to spend $5 to earn one, because we know that's going down. But then after that, when they get into the third round, Wyatt Milam seems like one of the more logical candidates to win that job and be an opening day starter. We had Neil Brown, his head coach of West Virginia, on Friday with you, Coach. What did you think of what he had to say about Wyatt Milam, the character, the player, the individual? Because I was sky high on Wyatt after hearing from his old head coach.
Well, after looking at him, this was before I even listened to Coach. I had him as one of the top 5 or 6 tackles in the draft, but I felt that he and Membo were the two that could move to guard and be a really effective guard at this level. Now, right. Listening to Coach Brown, there's no doubt in my mind. The guy's tough, physical, has a great punch, loves football, loves the physicality of football. He thinks he can play tackle in the league. I have a little bit of a question there, but he does have that. He has some of those traits that he could play tackle, especially right tackle, okay, because he is physical and all those things. I think the guy, his leverage, his anchor, those are his strengths. And that punch and leverage and anchor is what a guard does. And he also has done a good job with twists and stunts and all that kind of stuff. Those are things that he has to do as a guard. So again, they went out to improve the offensive line. I don't think they picked that kid where they picked him if he isn't coming in and competing for a starting job right out of the get-go.
Yeah, they want newbies. They want to renew and re-energize this franchise. They want to be more physical at the line of scrimmage. Body type, he still looks a little more Ezra than I'd like because he's 6'6", he's 320 pounds. Ezra kind of got stood up a little too much. That's the only thing I do worry, or at least right now I worry about a little bit. So I just want to see how he goes from that tackle position to the guard position and the ability to anchor, use that bubble, that trunk, coach, where they can basically lock down a big defender that's trying to break through and get to Trevor.
Yeah, I to be honest with you, watching him, I think he's much stronger than Cleveland. I'm talking about the lower body. Weight is one thing, but how it's distributed. You look at Ezra, he looks like more of a racehorse with the thin ankles. This guy is got good size and physicalness.
You're saying like Secretariat is what you're saying, Coach.
To me, he's an anchor guy, and that's what we need in there.
All right, I got a kick out of this, and it's a total aside from what we're talking about, but this is the way the horse racing industry works. Every horse that was in the Kentucky Derby had a little bit of Secretariat in it.
Yeah, well, the guy that won
is that not crazy?
Yeah, the guy that won it now is the sixth generation guy.
Had a little Secretariat.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Hey.
It's crazy. All right. We need secretariats on this football team, and we'll see what Travis Hunter and those guys can do. I want to bring up the scouting department, at least a little bit of change that has taken place. So we'll hit on that to finish. But rookie minicamp, what are you looking for? As soon as you get these, quote, guys on the grass, first opportunity, what are you looking for? How great a shape should they be in? Here we are a week after celebrating the NFL draft.
Well, I think they should be, they're going to be working towards, getting in physical condition to where they can play a full ball game. But it's kind of like a pitcher that comes in early in baseball. They start out with 50 pitches, then they go to 65 pitches, then they go to 80 pitches. It's the same thing with the rookies. But most of those guys, remember, they had to do workouts. So if they were going to be any good, they had to stick with the workouts right on through. Now, playing the game is different than working out. I mean, there's no question. But at the same time, I would hope that they'd be in pretty good shape and be pretty close to being ready to go. So I'm looking for their, exactly what they do when they get there. That's the bottom line. How quickly they pick things up, all those kind of things. Do they make mistakes? Those are some things that you're going to find out. And that's really what minicamp and OTAs are for. They're going to the team's going to throw in a lot of stuff and see who can handle it as well as the athletic ability.
Yeah, throw the information their way, put them in a bit of an overload situation and see who handles it. Travis Hunter, they say he's a great studier of the game, and I'm sure they're anxious to see what he does pick up, what his strengths are from a software point of view, an aptitude point of view, and everything you hear right now, they rave about him. And so, yeah, he, along with Milam, who was a team captain, Jonah Monheim from USC, a team captain, our dude Jack Kaiser from Notre Dame, a team captain. We're just going to see how all these guys handle that situation, that pressure. And like you said, it's the beginning of a long road of install and acclimation and just getting used to everything as far as being a pro.
One of the things that you're going to see, and I just started looking at these undrafted free agents that we can talk about on Friday. But one of the things you're going to see in there is a lot of speed. So, they've prioritized the physicalness, the relentless play, and the speed. Those things, that go all the way through their draft and the free agency. So, it's going to be interesting to see how these guys go. I mean, I'm an optimistic guy anyway, but I feel pretty darn good about the guys they brought in.
Yeah, I'm fired up too, so we'll see how it goes. All right, so let's just finish on this. We'll get ready for our Friday show where we'll break down a little more of the actual undrafted class. But Neil Stratton, who's a guy in the league, keeps an eye on all the stuff that goes on with the front office. He put out on X that the Jaguars have more movement inside their scouting department. They already put the news out. I can't remember if it was Rappaport or Pelissero. Somebody put out late last week that Ethan Waugh was going to be moving on, no longer part of the staff. Well, he also named Michael Davis, who is no longer listed as the Jaguars director of college scouting on the website. This comes from his tweet, also from John Shipley, who put it out there on Jaguars on SI. And another guy, let's see here, Epps, that they also did not bring back. More than anything else, the reason I'm bringing it up, Coach, is because Jeep Christ was another guy who served as a pro scout last season, was hired here in 23, and he now is no longer listed as part of the team's scouting department. They want new eyes. They want new ideas. They want new people bringing in better talent. Is that the best way to say it?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a carbon copy of the 1989-1990 Dallas Cowboys. Because when we first came in there, I can promise you that the coaches were more active in the scouting part of it this first year, along with the scouts, because they don't know those scouts. They know the coaching staff. The coaching staff knows what it's looking for. If they're all on the same page, that's what we did. We were out actually working guys out, the whole works. And then at the end, after you stick with the scouts you have, and Ethan Waugh was a good, transition guy, because he'd been involved in watching guys and doing all this stuff. But when it's all said and done, they want their people in there. And after looking at it for a month and a half, 2 months, however, how much it was prior to going with the draft and all that, they've made the decision, hey, we have some guys that we think we can stick in those spots that we're more familiar with, that we knows who we are and how we operate, all those things. That's not unusual. I would have thought that maybe a few more scouts are out of there. And that may be the case, because we kind of almost cleaned house in there with the Cowboys. But again, that's neither here nor there. They're making those decisions.
Yeah, because it's funny. One of the guys, Chris, was tied back to the AmWa San Francisco. So it is kind of a who do you know, who's your contact, and how do I get in the building? And so Gladstone and the rest of his and Cohen's bunch, they will work to renew that scouting department. I'm all for it because new eyes, new ideas, Coach. All right, we're done. We had a great time. Campo and Joe, we normally set it up inside the studio at 1 o'clock, but we appreciate Jacob jumping in. Yoda is doing early work today. He slept in, but he's doing early work. And then we will be back on Friday with our stream show at 10:10. And then, Coach, I'll see you on XL Primetime in just a little bit.
Yep, absolutely. And listen, we need to tell Jacob, I'm sure you're listening to this whole thing. Son, if you're going to be really successful, which you can be because you are very talented, you got to get up early in the morning. Let me give you a little advice. You may be young, but you got to get up and ready to roll right out of the blocks.
Coach is giving young Yoda a lesson right now, just as Obi-Wan Kenobi would do way back in the day. All right.
I love you, Jacob.
We enjoyed it. Yeah, exactly. He does a killer job for us. All right. We appreciate those that joined in on the stream show today. We'll be back Friday at 10:10 and then on XL Primetime later. So have a great Duval type of day, and we will talk to you on Friday.